A circle full of dogs. We put in the work. Oh, baby, let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs.
Hey everybody, welcome to Rush Hour, presented by NY Giants Rush. I'm Chris Rosa, along with my co-host, Michael the Truth. Michael, what is going on? Welcome back for week 2. How's it going?
It's going well. A couple little tears here, but we're not going to rehash it. But all Giants fans know what happened last Sunday, so we're going to move forward, talk about the next game.
I agree with you. We're not going to really touch upon Sunday. I think it was beaten up the past 3 days or so. So let's move on to Washington, to bigger and hopefully better things. Waiting for everybody to get into the room. So, Mike, talking about Sunday with the Washington Commanders game and the Bucs. Obviously, I was at the Giant game. I think that was a 1:00 game as well. The Bucs and Commanders. Right. Did you happen to catch any highlights or anything of that game?
I did.
You did.
I did. I watched the second half of that game.
Okay, cool. And give me your thoughts. I'll give you my thoughts. Hey, Bill, thanks for jumping in. Appreciate you're all over the place, Bill. I saw you last night on the other show, Insider. So, man, you're making all of us happy.
He's everywhere.
He's everywhere. Pete Turner, thank you, my man. Thank you for jumping in here. We appreciate you stopping by. But go ahead, Mike. Give me your thoughts on what you thought of the from the time you watched the Commander Bucs game on Sunday.
Okay. All right. Well, I saw a team that had some problems in the Commanders defensively. Baker Mayfield really kind of did what he wanted against that team, especially in the air. I noticed. So they have some issues on the defense side of the ball. On the offensive side of the ball, I noticed. And by the way, I thought the quarterback Daniels played pretty well for his first game. I thought he did pretty well. He had like 80-something yards in rushing. I think he had 187 yards passing. I like to see him go more vertical with that team they got with some of their wide receivers, because he does throw good football, as evident like he did with LSU when he had those two phenomenal wide receivers on that team last year. So those are things I saw. But I think their biggest Achilles heel right now, I think, is their defensive side of the ball with that team.
Yeah, I think they gave up, and you have the stats, Mike. I think they gave up close to 400 yards of offense.
Actually 392 yards.
Right. Yeah.
200 in the air and 112 rushing.
Yep.
And they also gave up 3 out of 5 red zone. Mm-hmm. So they gave up 21 points in the red zone at 5 chances that Tampa Bay was in.
Yeah, and could St. Juice, their corner, he didn't play bad. He was all over Mike Evans, but Mike Evans had a pretty good day in the red zone. With
he did
touchdowns.
He did, and he made some tough catches.
Oh,
too,
he did. He? Juice was on him pretty well looking at the game.
Yeah.
I thought with Jaden Daniels, Mike, did you feel like there were times where I thought he held the ball a little long, and other times I felt like he sat in the pocket. Did you feel the same way? It was like a mixed bag with Daniels.
Yeah, I think being that he's a rookie, and I think, he's sitting there going back in the pocket, trying to process, and let me tell you something. Sometimes when the game's moving fast, you don't process anything. It's like a blur. So then, what he did, he ran the ball, because that's what he knows. That's his safety net. Mm-hmm. And I do see a comment in here, and we're going to touch on that with the Giants. He might do. He's talking about putting a spy on him. Mm-hmm. I don't know who you could put on him that can cover him as a spy, because he's fast. He's probably the fastest.
Simmons comes to mind. But he didn't get any playing time last week.
He's pretty quick, so that's all right, possibly.
Yeah, and you know what? I think you got to keep him in the pocket, right? You have to have those outside rushers keep him inside.
So it's funny you say that. So the Giants last week, they in the beginning, they looked like they had a good push. Then they just started dying, and you want the Giants to have that against Washington, but they can't overplay it, because if they let that guy out of the pocket too much, he will hurt them, and he could easily get 100 yards.
Yeah,
in
for
rushing
sure.
against them.
For sure. And Mike, before we look at the Giants, one thing that was a little startling. I mean, listen, 17 of 24 was Daniels for 184. Not bad. I mean, for a rookie. However, boy, he had 16 carries. I mean, he ran the ball 6. He pulled it down and ran. And then you look at Brian Robinson, the running back, only 12 carries for 40.
40, that's big.
And
that's
Eckler,
big.
Yeah, I expected Eckler in a bigger role, but once again, the game plan is different for each game, so that could have been the game plan going in against the Bucs, but 2 carries for 10 yards. But what really startled me was the receiving. You had him checking down the running backs quite a bit, and obviously he's a rookie. Like you mentioned, Mike, that the processing is a lot faster. The game is moving faster. So you saw with 2 running backs leading receiving, with Eckler 4 for 52, Robertson 3 for 49, and Terry McLaurin only 2 catches for 17 yards. So
and that's a big one right there. I saw him go deep once to him,
right,
and unlike fashion that what we saw from him at LSU, he overthrew him by a good margin. And last year he was so spot on with his accuracy on the deep pass.
Right.
Yeah.
So maybe first game jitters.
Yeah.
Pumped up.
Game's fast, moving fast. Yeah.
And like we've all heard this week 2, everybody calms down, and you see there's a little bit more of a resemblance of the teams that you expect to win, and the teams maybe that aren't so good that either play a little better, like the Giants case, maybe they play a little better, or the teams that won last week kind of revert back to really who they are. So it's going to be interesting this week. But that thing, that's what shocked me a little bit with the Commanders, was just that the running backs got a lot into the passing game, and you didn't see much to McLaurin or any of the other wideouts.
Yeah, I really think, and we'll touch on this later when we put down what we think each team needs to do. But I think we're going to see them run the ball a little bit more against the Giants, because Robinson, I believe he had a good game against the Giants the last couple of times he played with them against them. He's a powerful runner, a hard runner, and he's perfect between the tackles. His style of play.
Yep. And I just posted Peter. We'll get to that, and
we'll get to that. Pete.
Yeah, but I think so. Maybe.
It's a great question.
Great question.
And an obvious one.
Yep, for sure. But I almost feel like the running game is gonna, like we said last week, got to get the running game going, especially on the Giants end. Jones has had good games against the Commanders. I think he's as a 98 quarterback rating. He's 5-1-1. He plays well against them. So we're going to just have to see, what happens on his end, either with the game plan and does he throw downfield? You know what, Mike? I wanted to bring this up. It reminds me pre-Barkley when you had Darkwa, Rashad Jennings, and you had Odell. And the reason I say that, when you had Odell, teams would play that cover 2 shell and say, go ahead, beat us with the run. We're worried about Odell. We're not going to let him beat us. Even going back to that 2016 season, if you remember, the Giants only averaged maybe 16, 17 points a game. It was the defense and turnovers that really got them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
And
defense,
it's very hard to get Beckham the ball on slant, or maybe not slants, but deep, getting him in back of the defense, just because they were playing that cover 2 all the time. And the Giants really didn't have that strong of a running game. So I feel like now the same thing with Neighbors. They're concerned about Neighbors more than the running game. There's no Barkley. So Giants have to establish a running game, in my opinion, to allow things to open up downfield for Neighbors, to bring those safeties up in the box and be a little bit more concerned about the running game.
Absolutely. I think you'll see that. I think we're going to see both teams be a little successful in the running game. I certainly don't see a dominance on either side of the ball. This game. I can definitely see not just one Giant, but perhaps 2 Giants on running backs having pretty good games.
Yeah.
This is the game of all games for Daniel Jones to do something after his performance. This is the perfect team, right? You mentioned it, 5-1-1, I believe, like you said.
Right.
He's got like a 90, like you said, 98 rating, and I think he's 10-3 ratio.
Yep.
In touchdowns to interceptions. So he's looked like the quarterback we always wanted him to be against Washington.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, JT, thanks for jumping in. You're cycling, man. All right, keep your eye on the road, or you're not on the road. Actually, you're on a stationary cycle, but all good. So we appreciate you popping in. Yeah, this is a good question by Bill. You take this one, Mike. So Bill's asking, and I think we're all thinking the same thing. Banks on McLaurin. Go ahead, Mike. Give your thoughts on that matchup.
Listen, it's going to be in Banks. He has the pleasure of going against a lot of talented wide receivers in our own division. And this is another one. This guy's a quality player, McLaurin, and I think it's going to be a challenge for him. He's going to have to just, weather the storm. He's going to have to roll up his sleeves and just play as hard as he can, because I still believe in him. I think he's going to be a good player. But, he is, again, only his second year, so it's going to take time for him to really feel like the game is slowing down and he has control.
Yep.
When he's covering all these elite wide receivers, and of course a pass rush could help him too. Like we all know that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we get Tibbs involved, Burns involved, Dexter involved, speed up the processing for Daniels and help Banks out on the back end. But once again, you saw Daniels have a tough time, getting the ball to the wide receivers. And we hope that's the case this week as well. Listen, it's a Washington opener, right? So he's going to be jacked up. There might be some more jitters on his end. He's playing at home. So let's hope that that's the case with Daniels, that he's not too comfortable, as the quarterback leading them down the field.
Yeah, I saw a good breakdown on Daniel Jones. If you don't touch on this,
no, we have to. Go ahead, Mike. Take it.
Yeah, I saw, and I don't know the guy's name, and I apologize because he deserves a lot of credit because he really did a great job breaking down Daniel Jones' passes, and he talked about his footwork. And a lot of his footwork was, if you look at it, was not good in terms of where his front foot was pointing, his front toe. When you pass, you want to have that lead foot kind of go where you're throwing the ball. That kind of helps you clear your hips and you can release the ball a little more timely and more comfortable manner instead of throwing it almost against your body. And that's what he brought out, why a couple of passes Jones was behind the receivers when he threw those passes that we all think NFL quarterbacks should make. There's passes out there, even Phil Simms talked about it, that there's passes out there that they're given. Quarterbacks at this level have to make, those 5-yard passes down the field. And Jones struggled on them. He really did on a few of them. Short passes behind the receiver when he's running across the field. So that, I it made sense when I saw that breakdown about his footwork.
Funny you mentioned Phil Simms, because he was quoted as saying this week after watching the game in some film that it almost looked like Jones, to him, being a quarterback, that he was trying to process too fast. And that's why these throws were behind, in front, in the dirt, off target. He knew that he had to get the ball out or process, and he was almost to a detriment of being a little out of control with the processing. So, take it for what it's worth from Phil Simms. I mean, he's a former, all-time great.
He knows what he's talking about. Right?
So that was interesting. I did not even think of that, but it makes sense. You're hurrying up. You know that you have to hurry. Things have to speed up, and sometimes you get a little out of control, right? So maybe that was the case as well, for Jones. But I expect Jones to settle in and play a better game. I mean, don't you, Mike? I mean, I expect a better game. I don't expect the same Daniel Jones we saw on Sunday.
I don't.
I'll be shocked.
No, I don't either, because first we just mentioned it. He's playing Washington, and for some reason, he's played well against them. And I know football, of all sports, they change a lot of players a lot of times. I'm sure these aren't the same corners he's faced 2 years ago, or even 3 years ago. but for some reason he does well against Washington. He looks like worthy of that contract.
He sure does.
Hard.
It is funny. It is funny how he just plays well against them, which kind of clouds things even more. All right, we need to see consistency, right? I would say this, even if I'm just throwing a number out. I mean, I'm the fool who said 27-17 last week, but I'm throwing a number. Let's say he threw for 285, 3 touchdowns, 70% around there completion. I'm still not sold on him and say, oh, he's back. This is it. Because I want to see consistency. I think we've all been down this road where he shows you glimpses and then it reverts back. Right, Mike? It's like we just go do it then the next week against Cleveland. But you have to prove it at this point. We need a pattern here. We can't have the one win, looks great. The other next week it looks like garbage. We need consistency. And he needs the offensive line to help him too. You know, they played okay, not great, but you know, once again, these guys, it's their first time playing together as well because of preseason.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a better show from them, you know, as well.
I think, you know, his contract warrants consistency now. I mean, you know, a lot of guys have mentioned this on Twitter, no more excuses. And, you know, he needs to step it up. He does. And this is coming from somebody who's a big supporter of his from day one. But at some point, you need to draw the line and say this is it. You got to show something. You can't keep doing this.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure. This. And he'll have time to throw. At one point, Baker was 12 for 12 last week on passes, 12 in a row. And listen, they gave up some yardage in the passing game. I don't believe the Commanders had a sack, so Baker had time back there. So I think everything points to Daniel Jones having the opportunity to play a good game. Whether he does it, we don't know. But I think everything from what we saw from Washington last week. Now things change. We know week 2, but it wasn't like they blew him away with this crazy pass rush last week with Payne up the middle and Jonathan Allen coming up the gut. So you know what? I think he'll have time. I think he'll have time this week.
Yeah, and it's very important, believe it or not, that he's playing away. I think that's the best thing for him to play away, not hear the boos if he makes 1 or 2 bad throws, and hopefully, you know, he will get in some kind of rhythm and, you know, start feeling it because, you know, I still want to see him do well, whether he's with the Giants or not next year. I want to see the kid do well. He's a likable guy. He's not a bad guy. You know, he's a team player. He works hard. You know, whether he's with the Giants or not next year, I want to see him succeed and stay in the NFL. You know.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. He's making his millions, but all in all, he seems like a good kid. And the fact that you know, you want to see him do well. Obviously, there is a point where it's just it's over. It's over. But we still support him. But it's, you know, there's no more time left. Hey, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights. Thanks for jumping in here. Appreciate you stopping in. And here's a good point, Mike. We're going to bring a lot of comments up tonight. Here's a good point.
I like him.
Yeah, Peter Turner, run the ball first. I like it. Use play action. Oh man, I was saying that last week. Off of that to slow the pass rush down a half a second and will help DJ get easier throws. Yeah, if that offensive line could hold up on a play action, then I'm with you, Peter. I think bring those linebackers and safeties up, you know, and open up the passing game, but start off with establish that running game. I'm right with you, 100%.
And I think they can, Pete. I think they really can. I think they can do that, and they can implement not only the wide receivers in the pass game with the run working, but you know, try to get those tight ends because the Giants have 2 pretty good tight ends, and they did have a lot of snaps in that first game from what I've seen.
Sure.
You know, so let's use them all.
Yep. And as much as, you know, Daniel Jones didn't play a good game at all, I don't want to say great game, good game or acceptable game. You know, there were 5 drops. I mean, Theo Johnson's got to catch that ball. Guys got to help him out too. Hyatt had a big drop. We don't have to go through the whole thing again, but we know there was 5 drops. So let's make the plays, make the catches, and establish the running game. And that's going to, you know, segue us to later on. We want to hear what everyone thinks in the chat about the game plan. Mike and I were curious to see what you want to see the Giants do as their game plan.
Yeah, don't tell us yet, guys. Just wait.
Let's wait. We're going to open that up maybe like 15, 20 minutes, and we'll take it to the end of the show and then go into, or right after Truth's Truth. We'll get what Mike thinks. But moving on. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, so I know. So, what did you see when you watched that game? Was there anybody who stood out on either side of the ball on Washington that you knew of, or maybe you didn't know much of him until the game? Because it wasn't really a blowout; it was a close game. It wasn't that bad. They did score 20 points. So, anybody that you saw that you
I would say Brian Robinson played well. I thought he played well in the running game and the passing game. If we bring up his stats, Mike, what did he actually did pretty well on both ends. You have the Robinson?
40. Yeah, 12 for 40, right? In the running game.
12 for 40. All right. Passing, he had like 80 yards in the receiving.
Did he? Let me look.
I thought I think you have that stat, right?
Yeah, you I actually got it from you.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me. I thought he had like 80 yards receiving.
He had 3 catches for 49 yards, which is pretty good average for a running back.
3 catches for 40. Okay, and then rushing?
That's 16 yards per catch.
Yeah, really. And what do you have for the running?
Running, he had 12 carries with 40 yards, like we said.
All right.
And I think that's going to be improved when he faces the Giants.
Okay. Jaden Daniels doesn't scare me yet, obviously, in the passing game. He didn't do much. I mean, he threw a lot of checkdowns to the running backs, but he does scare me running around. You saw some of those third downs in the game against the Bucs where he is elusive and he gets outside, and he did pick up first downs and he ran. And he doesn't wait. There were, which I thought was a little impressive. There were times where he held on to the ball and actually was going through progressions and pulled it down and then ran. And then there were times where he did run, fairly quick, but maybe that was designed as well. But his elusiveness is definitely a concern, especially McFadden coming off a groin injury. We know that Tibbs is a great pass rusher, but we haven't seen him be established in the running game yet as much as we like. So him running the ball and getting outside, that's what scares me, Mike. I want to keep him in the pocket. I think in the pocket, I'm not as concerned, but if he gets outside those tackles, I don't know. I'm a little with our DBs. I'm not sold. Banks likes to come up and make a hit, but I don't want him getting to the outside. I saw against the Bucs that was his thing, getting to the outside and rushing the ball.
That takes a tremendous amount of discipline by your pass rush to keep him in the pocket and not letting him get to the outside. That's going to be a very hard task for them. And I watched that game, the second half, and I could have sworn they had a spy on him. And if whoever watched that game who's with us here, correct me if I'm wrong, I could have sworn I saw a spy on him, and he just blew right by that guy. He is so fast. He's very deceiving, his speed. He really is. He doesn't look like he's running until you see him blow by people.
Yeah, he's got a very smooth.
Very smooth.
Very smooth. It's deceptive, right? A deceptive run to him.
Yeah, his strides must be like 6 feet each when he runs. Yeah, because it doesn't look like he's running. It looks like he's running fast, but not like that where it looks like the defenders are in sand. They can't. He just goes right by them.
Yeah, Mike, do you have the stat? How many times did he get sacked last week, or do you have any pressures? I have to look that up.
You talking about Daniels?
Yeah, Jaden Daniels. Do you have any stats?
No, I didn't. I don't have that. I don't have that stat.
I'll look that up.
Yeah, look that up. I don't have that one.
I'm gonna look that up.
For a rookie, his first game, 17, like you said, 17 to 24, 187 yards, 88 yards rushing. That's not a bad. And he had a touchdown too, I believe. That's not a bad game. I mean, for goodness sakes, that's not a bad game.
Yeah, not bad at all.
I bet the Giants would take that right now, wouldn't they?
Oh, I think so. Well, without a doubt, man. Without a doubt. Hang on one second. Let's see if we could find this. But give 1 second here, and then we'll go over the injury report as well.
Yeah.
I know that Mike.
There's a few, aren't there, Chris?
Yeah, there is a few. I know Micah McFadden was. I think he was limited today. So
Oh
that
boy,
was yeah. So I know he didn't play
he
the
has
other
a
day.
groin, right? You said.
Yeah, it's a groin, and then they kept him out.
Yeah, boy,
Obviously they kept him out.
that could be an ongoing thing. You know, a
Yep.
groin.
So Daniels was sacked twice last week. I don't have
All
pressures
right.
right here, so if anybody
I
has
wonder
it,
how many he evaded from where he could move.
yeah, exactly. And we're going to bring up for everybody because let's get familiar with the Commanders. Tyler Badge, who's a very good center, was brought over with Quinn from the Cowboys. Everybody might remember the
Yeah,
Cowboys
he was
drafted him.
where was he from? Nebraska, Wisconsin.
Yeah, you're right. I think it was Wisconsin, but you
Yeah.
know better than me. You're the college guy, but I think it was Nebraska. But at left tackle, you have Brandon Coleman. Left guard, Nick Allegretti. Tyler Badge at center. Sam Cosmi at right guard. And Andrew Wiley at right tackle. So Wiley comes over from Kansas City. Badge from Dallas. Nick Allegretti from Kansas City. So they have a revamped offensive line. And Brandon Coleman, Brandon Coleman is the left tackle drafted, I believe, in the third round.
Is he TCU? Did he go to TCU? Does it say where he went? TCU.
That's why we go to you, Mike. Like Craig would say, you are the college guy. You are correct. So let's keep that in mind. Everybody, let's all soak this in. Once again, left tackle, a rookie, third round, Brandon Coleman. And Mike, you give us your draft report on him in a second. Left guard, Nick Allegretti from Kansas City. He was actually he came over this year from KC. Tyler Badge from Dallas. Sam Cosmi, he was
from
drafted
Texas.
in the second.
He's from Texas.
Okay, second round in 21, and Wiley, the other tackle from KC. Wiley was a starter, wasn't he, with Kansas City?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So revamped offensive line. The chemistry isn't formed yet. These guys can be had, especially the left tackle. What was your thoughts on Coleman coming out?
Well, you know what's funny? You mentioned that line. And Coleman played. He played both tackle and guard. I remember him. And Cozy played tackle a lot with Texas. And now they moved Cozy into guard, and they put Coleman at left tackle, which is arguably the hardest position to play on the offensive line. I remember doing stuff on him. I believe he was in our one of our draft reports with Spartan. He like I said, he played both guard and tackle. I remember, and a better run blocker than a pass protector. That's what I remember of him.
Well, that's somebody they need to take advantage of, right, on that left side.
Does it give his size on him? Is he like 6'4", 320, something like that?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. It was right around 6'4", 320.
Okay.
Yeah. So
so like that's kind of undersized. So I don't know how long I don't remember the length of his arms, but
right.
That might be they got guys playing out of position, right? Could be.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the Giants defensive side when we go over the truths, but a lot to talk about with them too, not just Daniel Jones from game one.
Yeah, for sure. So let's move into some Giants injuries, and we're going to punch this up, and we'll get the official report as well tomorrow. But for today, the practice report, this is who didn't practice. You had Nick McLeod off to the side with the knee. Darius Musso, knee, didn't practice. Gunner, his groin, aggravated a groin at pregame last week. Everybody remembers he was supposed to be in there, and then he aggravated again in warmups. So he didn't practice. Slayton, concussion protocol, so he still has to clear for Sunday. He didn't practice. And Micah McFadden, he has the groin. And he was, I believe, did not practice or limited. But anyhow, we'll see that tomorrow. But, boy, if Musso is not able to play and McFadden's got a groin, that's really thin there at the linebacker spot. Yeah, and Coleman was – yeah. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe that is part of the game plan because of Daniels, to your point earlier, Mike, to have a spy on him.
Yeah.
Mike, I didn't look either. Rushing, how many – did you have the rushing stats for Washington? How many times did they rush the ball?
I don't have how many times, but
Like
I
without
have
Jaden Daniels.
I have that they rushed for 138 yards.
Right.
Daniels had 88 of them, so that's 50 yards without him, something like
Yeah.
that.
Okay. Okay. So rushing first downs, third down efficiency. Let's see if I
That's
could.
why. That's why I really. I mean, um, I'm not. I don't want to make him out to be Bo Jackson, but Brian Robinson is a very punishing runner, and for
Mhm.
some reason, he plays good against the NFC East teams. I saw him have a great game against Philly. I think when they upset Philly,
Mhm.
I think it was 2 years ago, not
Yeah.
last year,
Right. Right. Mhm.
right?
Yep.
And he does well against Dallas. There's something about he's one of those guys that just comes to play against the division rivals, and I
Mhm.
expected to do that when the Giants played him.
Yeah. And I think with Daniels and to Bill,
Holy cow!
what's
I
that,
did
Mike?
not, you know something? I did not realize that, Bill. He didn't get one snap.
No, he didn't. He didn't get one snap, and that was some of the talk, um, after the game, where hey, you carry 48. Well, you carry 53 on the roster, 48 dress. You want to use all 48, whether it's special teams, or a snap, and just a head scratcher that Simmons at some point did not get in this game. Very,
And
very odd.
yeah, and they rate and all through Hard Knocks, they talk
Hmm.
about Simmons. Oh, this Bowen loves his versatility. Oh, he knows how to use them. And here they don't use him at all. And nothing against that rookie that played a lot because he had a good game.
He did.
The kid
Yeah.
you mentioned, um, but I don't understand how you cannot do something. The Giants defense was, let's be honest. They were not competitive.
Hmm.
If that's the right word. Not that they didn't play hard, but they were not competitive
You're saying on defense.
on defense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, you know
and
what, Mike, and not that we're going over it, but yeah, and I agree with you I feel like this offense has been so anemic for so long that when the Giants go down by 10 or more, I almost feel like it seems insurmountable and the defense feels that way. And I know there's new guys, we have, new players, but even as a fan, I feel that way. That they don't right? That it almost takes the air takes the wind out of the sails. We saw that the first quarter we saw Dex, with the sack, and then Drew Phillips with the hit, and then Okereke with the fumble recovery. I feel like, man, when they get down, and that's the one thing with this team for years, right, Mike? They never get off to a lead. Yeah, all right, they had a 3-0 lead, but that was deflating because they were in the
that's
red zone after the turnover. But we're not going
yeah.
to go over it. But you know what I'm saying. Overall, jump on Washington for once on Sunday with the score. Let Daniel feel good about himself, whether they run it in or throw it in. Got to get 6 at some point. Enough with the field goals. And speaking of field goals, Cade York, who was with Washington this year and was with the Giants during training end of last year when Gano got hurt, they cut him this week. He missed 2 field goals. So there's a reason why Cade York, he was like a first-round pick of the Browns, he now is moving on to another team, hopefully for him. But they just picked up this Austin Seibert, who's been in the league since 2019, was with the Jets last year. Just food for thought. He's like 2 for 6, over 50 yards. Something to keep an eye on because Washington Giants is one of these games where it could come down to that field goal at the end. So anyway,
That's a good point. That's a good point.
keep an eye on this new kicker, Austin Seibert. He's bounced around a little bit, but 2 for 6, over 50. Once again, I just jinxed it. He'll probably nail a 60-yarder to win it. It's usually how it works for me.
No, he'll 250 yarders now.
Probably. But yeah, Mike. So I am concerned about those Washington running backs. Just like you're mentioning, I think that is what I'm worried about is the backs out of the screen. Washington threw quite a bit of screens. In fact, I think it might have been to Brian Robinson. I don't think it was Eckler. He had a nice screen that went for, or was it a wide receiver screen? Anyway, Washington had a nice screen that went for like 50 yards. I feel like these screens are going to be a big part of Washington's game too. These backs out of the backfield. And I got to believe Eckler will be more involved. Their big free agent pickup with Eckler. They'll get him more involved in the game as well, especially in the passing game.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be a blowout by no means. Gee, I don't want to jinx it. We didn't think that last week, but I don't really think it's going to be a blowout on either side. I think these two teams are going to be playing, and they're going to play hard. It's a divisional game. They're going to play hard. They're going to compete. If they don't, then it's going to be a blowout.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. But I just don't see that. And that's a good point Bill just made right there. And I hope Bill, he's not going to be happy for a while, I guess. I can't remember the last time the Giants scored 30 points. Was it against the Cardinals last year?
It might have been just under.
Was that it? Didn't they win 30-28, something like that? Anybody know?
Yeah, I think they did it one time last year.
That's when they had that big comeback in the second half. Remember?
Yep, of course. Let's see.
I don't know if they got 30 points though.
Yeah, last year. Let's see. 24 against the. Yeah, they did 31 against the Cardinals in September.
There you go.
You're right.
So that's the last time. So that's a long time ago, right? That's
been a while.
What is that? The second game of the season last year?
You got it. Second game. So
that's a long time ago.
Sure is. And then after that, they won with 28, but they pretty much were hovering around the teens and a little bit in the 20s. But yeah. Yep. And then they came close against the Eagles that last game of the season, 27 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, they don't normally score 30. That'd be nice. That would be nice. Mike, go before we get into truth and game plan. The fans' game plan. Tell me what you want to see from the Giants in terms of game planning on offense before we just switch on defense and get your thoughts. What do you think on the offensive side? You want to see game plan wise?
Well, look, I mean, I definitely want to see more passion, and I want to see them compete offensively because they really didn't do any of that in game one for the majority of the whole game. They really didn't. I mean, at least the defense showed something in the beginning, like you mentioned with the fumble and the sack.
Mm-hmm.
But they just got to show that they could compete. Because they didn't look like that. They looked like they didn't play one game in preseason,
mm-hmm.
and came out to play this game. And Minnesota looked like they were ready to play.
Yeah, it did have that and everybody said it. It did have that preseason feel.
Oh, really?
For the Giants.
Oh, they said that. I didn't know that.
People next to me at the game, it just felt
really?
like. Yeah, especially the offense. It felt like it was the first time they played together in a game. And
wow.
it almost got the feeling like, all right, the next preseason game 2, they should be all right. Let's go. It's all right. It's the first one. Meanwhile, they went through preseason already. But yeah, that's what it felt like. It really was sad. It really was sad. And here's the thing with the 3 and out in the big, and I want to bring it up again, but the boos.
We can't help it.
We're tired of 3 and outs. I mean, the first series, get a first down. That's why everybody was booing it. It was just got the ball and they booed, but whatever. It is what it is.
It's Chris, it's also, when you're losing like they were, 14-3 and they're 3 and out, and on third down, they're running the ball.
Yeah.
And they got like 8 yards to go.
Right.
And I mean, of course you're going to boo. That's like, give it a goddamn shot. At least and correct me if I'm wrong, I heard they only had one pass play over 20 yards.
I believe so. Yeah.
One, and that was the one that Malik Neighbors caught, right? He jumped up and caught it, right?
24 yards. Yeah.
Something like that.
And you know what? Go
ahead.
No, I was going to say they have to scheme better because they are going to play the Joe Witt is the defensive coordinator. Quinn's not calling the defenses. He's managing the game. So they're going to play, and I'm saying of the Commanders, Joe Witt, and Kingsbury's the offensive coordinator. Joe Witt is the defensive coordinator of the Commanders. They're going to keep that soft shell, that too high safety look. It's going to be similar to what we saw with Odell. Until the Giants could prove they could run the ball, which I think they have to do on Sunday, and then they'll bring those safeties back. They're not worried about the running game. We need to get chunks, right? No 1-2 yards, 3rd and 6. We need chunks. They go to the Giants. Giants need to get 4 yards out of clip, 3 yards on first down, 6 yards, right, Mike? get chunks of yardage and get them to move the linebackers and the safeties up, and then we could open things up. But
Yeah.
that being said, Dable, offensive guru, can do all these things. He needs to scheme better too, right, Mike? He has to scheme the offense on the crossers, getting Wandell in space. And obviously, the elephant in the room, Jones has got to find these guys and be able to process it and be able to find them and not stare them down. I don't know if that's something he can change, but he needs to be able to find these guys when they are scheming to get the open receiver downfield on the 9 route, the deep post. I mean, these are the things that can open it up, but they need to do the little things in the beginning to make that work, right, Mike?
Yeah, I agree. And I think Jones, I think he got, and again, I'm referring to that breakdown that gentleman had, where Jones had time in the pocket and guys were open downfield, and he just doesn't. He went the safe route and checked down and threw to somebody 3 to 4 yards over the line of scrimmage.
Mike, I don't remember who. Yeah, you're right. That's been the Jones MO, and I support him. I just can't take it. And I don't remember what quarterback was one of these Hall of Fame quarterbacks a few years ago, and stuck with me. 2 things you can't teach a quarterback: either they got it or they don't got it. How fast they can process once they're in the league. Now, obviously, you're a rookie; it takes time. But once you reach that point, either you got it or you don't got it. Can you process or can you not process? Second thing, getting the ball out, right? Your delivery. That's another thing. It's elongated. Not him, I'm saying. That's another thing that's hard to break is a quarterback that has that elongated, getting rid of the ball. That's something that maybe you could teach, but sometimes it doesn't work. And the last thing is, and this is Jones, another Jones issue, pocket presence, right? Having the wherewithal to know when there's pressure and then not, just check it down, but to know when the pressure's there. He holds the ball long, doesn't he, Mike?
Yeah, he does. Certainly does. Hopefully, playing against Washington will light a fire in his butt, and he shows us something because really his giant career is on the line right now.
It sure is,
and it's a game by game thing for him. It's a game by game thing.
I don't care if they don't score on the first drive, but they need to get a first down. It's just going to set the tone. They need to flip the field and at least get 1 first down on that first drive when they get the ball.
Show us something.
Yeah, a feel-good drive, man. They need to have that feel-good drive where the defense doesn't come out on the field and they're like in their brain, game 2 already. They're thinking, here we go. Now we're back out here after a minute and a half, the offense had the ball. Real quick, Mike, before we move into truth's truth, and then we'll get to the game plan, what everybody else thinks. Good observation by Bill. Yeah, Bill, the boos are fine, but the shouting to DJ after the game, we've all heard it from other people on podcasts and people like yourself that always come on. Yeah, man, that's uncalled for. There's always a few bad apples. Every team has the fans like that. Guy, tanked up in the parking lot after the game. Young kid, probably. Yeah, I don't know, but
and that's usually and Chris, that's usually somebody who never played football, never played sports that does that.
Yeah, everybody sees the money. That's the main thing. People see the money, and he hasn't done anything, and I get it, but you can't. You got to reel it in at some point. You can't you can't take shots like that when the guy's leaving the stadium. He knows. Trust me, he knows. He may not say it, but he knows. He's human. Yeah. On that drive home in his car, I could only imagine what's going through Jones's brain, right?
I'm sure he's not happy, and he shouldn't be happy.
He's had a lot of sleepless nights.
He's not happy, right?
Yeah. Let's give him credit. He works hard. He answers the questions. He's run out of time. He's got to put it together. It's 6 years. The offensive line, he had time. So we're not going to go over it again, and I expect them to have time on Sunday. I really do. I think they're going to be able to handle the Washington defense.
Yeah, so
the offensive line will. Yeah. No, you're right, Bill. No, we know. We're not trying to rehash it. No, that's a good point, though, because we're bringing up the boos. No, you're right. We want to bring that up, too. Yeah. Giant fans need to chill out after the game.
Giants fans suffer enough.
Yeah, just go to your car and hang out. And you want to talk crap, just talk about it. You don't need to wait 45 minutes for him to leave and actually, you're circling him like vultures. If you have something better to do, really, you have to hang out by the exit of the locker room of the stadium. Oh, man. All right. Good stuff, Bill. Mike, let's get to our segment here towards the end of the show, and then we'll get to everybody's game plan, what they think. And
Yeah.
Phil, jump in, what your game plan, what you think. We want to hear from everybody. But truth, we call this truth. Give us the cold hard truth on the Giants and your thoughts on what's going on.
Okay, for the Giants, I think it's important. There's things that I said last week that they needed to happen. It didn't happen. First one was the defense needs to show up. Okay, I mentioned the Giants defense arguably has probably the 4 most talented players. I mentioned Lawrence and Burns and Thibodeau and Okereke. Combined, they only had 10 tackles. Combined. Okay? And we saw what happened on Twitter or on X when the reporter asked Thibodeau, you had no tackles. What happened? And he got very annoyed. And maybe he should be upset because he knows he played horribly.
Yeah. Sometimes the truth hurts, right? Truth.
That's right.
Sometimes the truth hurts.
That's right. He's got to be more than just a pass rusher. And we've had this conversation about him last year, about him being a good run defender, sealing the edge. But I think the Giants, they have to get quality play from those guys. They really do. They got to get those guys because when those guys play really well, it sets the tone for everybody else on the defense. It makes Banks and the other guys in the secondary jobs easier when they're playing well off the edge. And Burns is putting pressure on the quarterback as Tibbs is, or Lawrence is pressuring and collapsing the pocket. That's the thing I think they have to do. They got to play more inspiring football on D for a majority of the game. All right, I'm not going to say 60 minutes, so I'll be more realistic.
And Mike, to your point, Banks, I think, is a good tackler. It does concern me, Cordell Flott, if he's on the other side. I would anticipate him in Dory getting a little more time. Flott is a tackler.
I think you see Dory more.
When he puts the effort in, when Dory puts the effort in, I believe more in him than I do in Flott in terms of tackling. I feel like I'd rather have a Dory in this type of game because I feel like the backside of the backfield and getting out of the pocket, there's going to be some opportunities for Washington on the outside if they get to the edge.
Yep. My second thing is, we talked about it. This is the perfect team for the Giants to play, for Daniel Jones to rebound, and also playing on the road. So you got to conclude Jones as a key factor here. He's got to play a game where he doesn't have to be the star of the game, but he's got to be able to not put the Giants in position to lose like he did in this first game. He's got to be able to play more inspired football, just play the way he's played against the Commanders over the last 2-3 years. That's all I want to see.
Yep.
I don't need to see his playoff game against Minnesota, which would be nice, but to be realistic, just give us a nice, solid performance.
Yeah.
Because that will go a long way for the Giants to win this game.
And Cole, thanks for jumping in and finding us tonight. And Cole, to your point, what you're saying, bring the pressure first. Yeah, I mean, it's a big – we just went over the offensive line. I don't know if you caught that, Cole, but they have a lot of guys new in that lineup. A rookie at left tackle. I mean, this is a game for Burns and Tibbs to break out. And keeping Daniels is going to be key in that pocket. But with Dex coming up the middle, that should allow Burns and Thibodeau to get some pressure from that outside.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have to be able to stay home too, and don't let them get outside. But I think this could be potentially a very big game for both of the edge rushers and obviously Dex, who's pretty much a given every game.
Left tackle, right? That guy's playing left tackle. Who's lined up in front of him? It's going to be Burns.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So, I mean, Burns should be licking his chops right now, knowing he's got a rookie who's really played more guard than tackle in college for TCU.
Right.
So maybe we could say, let's look for a good game from Burns for this game, And my third thing is the Giants were dreadful in third down conversions. They were like 7 for 18. They were over 3 in the red zone. They were pathetic, and you can't have that. You gotta, they got enough weapons. They gotta be better than that in the red zone. They gotta be better than that on third down with that kind of talent.
Mm-hmm.
They gotta be. So I'm saying that I think that's a key factor for them to be, by doing that, what do? You get the ball and you have longer possessions. Have longer possessions. The defense on Washington gets tired, and that's when mistakes happen when you're tired, and that's how you can capitalize on scoring chances. So I think those are three big keys for the Giants. For the Commanders, just what I've seen, and I don't watch them as much as I do the Giants, but that game, the defense to me is their Achilles heel. And they, like you said, they gave us almost 400 yards to the Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay obviously is a better offensive team than the Giants, but I still believe the Giants can run the ball and also can get the ball in the air, a little more positive than they did against Minnesota. So I think that's important that Washington plays a little bit better inspired football 1D, because I think they're going to play well enough on offense to win the game. I think Washington will. I just think the defense will be their Achilles heel.
Yeah. Last question for me to you on the truth. McLaurin, considering the fact he only had 2 catches last week and maybe a few targets, think they get him more involved this week with this Giant secondary? I would think
yes,
so, right?
I do.
Yeah.
That's
a point of emphasis,
it would be crazy for them not to.
Yeah, especially with Kingsbury. Kingsbury's that kind of guy where he's creative with getting players involved. Obviously with Murray when he was at the Cardinals. So yeah, I can.
And he's another one, Chris, that's had good games against the Giants. So,
oh yeah, I wish the Giants had him.
Yeah, right. So he, I definitely could see, and that's going to be part of my top keys here. Daniels, we all know he's a dual threat, but he needs to get more vertical. He didn't do that in the first game, and maybe because it's his first game, he was doing a little more safe, high percentage passes. I get it, I get it, but he needs to be a little more stretch the field, be more vertical, and that's where McLaurin comes in. I think you'll see him. He may catch a couple of long passes, against the Giants over 30 yards each. Mm-hmm. So that's something they need to do. And we talked about Brian Robinson. I think you're going to see a big game from him in the running game. That's one of my keys for them.
I can see that. Yep. My last concern. Oh, good, Mike. Finish up, and then I'll.
No. And I was going to say, I think it was Pete that mentioned this way, way back in the beginning. This, believe it or not, guys, this is a must-win game for the Giants. If you look at this schedule, what they got coming up, they have to win this game. If they want to play any meaningful games in December, or even in late November or mid-November, they got to win this game. They really do.
Realistically, Mike, they got to get to the quarter mark at 4-4, 2-2. So they need this one, and they have to steal one now against Cleveland, because I don't see them beating the Cowboys. I really don't.
Yeah, that's
They're
right.
They're going to have to win this.
Cleveland is a game they can
game.
win. Cleveland is that's a good point. Cleveland is a game that they can win.
Yeah,
they can win. But
well, to make up for the Minnesota game, they're going to have to steal that one. If they were to beat Washington, if they don't beat Washington, all bets are off. And this is like the wheel is coming off the track.
Oh, if they lose to Washington, we're going to have Twitter's going to blow up.
Mike, I used to say, can we have a season where the leaves haven't changed like color and the season's over? Like seriously, the temperatures are still in the 80s and the season may be over. Like that's even worse. I mean, oh my goodness! You got to win this game, Mike. Jonathan Allen and Payne, they worry me a little bit up front with Washington too, only because Van Roten played okay, not great. Schmitz did okay. Runyon, okay, not great. So the interior line of the Giants, man, they got to step it up too, because they're playing against two big boys with Allen and Payne, too.
Yeah,
one of the best tandems probably in the NFL, and I say tandems. Dex is the best by himself, but tandems wise, one of the best in the NFL with Allen and Payne.
It's funny. It makes you wonder why they surrendered that many yards on the ground. Having those two guys, plugged in over there inside, between the tackles. I mean, they are very good, solid football players. So
Yeah. Well, they had a few to the outside edge. The Bucks did, so I think
okay,
that definitely helped getting to the outside. But yeah, good points, Mike. I mean, I like it. I'm on board with everything you said. And we got a few minutes left, so hey, let's hear from you.
guys, what do you think?
Yeah.
What did we miss? What do you think the keys for either team to win this game? What do you guys think?
Yeah, give us your Giants game plan, your thoughts, anything you want to get off your chest about Sunday coming up, and whether you think it's a must game or not too. You don't have to get heavy into a game plan, but give us your thoughts. What's going through your mind here on Wednesday, a few days before kickoff? And while we're waiting on that, we'll see if anybody chimes in. I will say a positive. Gano looked like he has his legs back, so he kicked a field goal the other day, so over 50. So, this is one of the Giants. It looks like it's one of these seasons again, Mike. When they're in a game, it's going to come down to late, and it could come down to that field goal.
Are we gonna wait until we get some feedback here before we give our score?
No, go ahead, give it. You go ahead, Mike. Give me a score. We'll wait. Oh, here we go. We can.
Patrick just said something here.
Yeah, let's. Oh, I know Patrick. Pat's. He's a young fella. He's my good friend's son. Pat was at the game with us the other day. Thanks for jumping in, Pat. Appreciate it. So Pat says, Dable needs better play calling. His job is on the line soon. You know what, Pat?
That's been rumors going on now.
That's right.
Already we see Belichick.
You're absolutely right, Pat. And the execution, right? I mean, the play calling is going to be one half of it, and then the Giants are going to have to execute. We don't need drive killers with offsides, penalties. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Pat. I expected more with the play calling, but once again, with the Giants, was Jones not checking down? Was he checking down? Was he not seeing the field? But I agree with you, Pat. You're right on, man. Definitely better play calling, and we need to a little more maybe creativity with the schemes to open things up a bit. Good stuff.
I'll tell you, Chris. I mean, watching the Giant game again, we're going over it. It looked like that Dable did not trust Jones with some of the play calling. It looked like he didn't trust Jones.
It reminded me. Now, last year he got hurt early, but it reminded me of 2022, right, Mike, where he kind of brought the reins in on Jones, didn't give him a lot of freedom. But then you hear, "Hey, just rip it." That's kind of what his attitude's been. So. Is it Jones not seeing the field, not pulling the trigger, afraid to make mistakes? I mean, listen, Van Ginkel read that perfectly on the pick six, right? He knew it was coming. He saw the film. He saw the eyes. This is the same stuff. We even heard the Vikings defensive backs talking about how it was pretty easy to diagnose Jones and what he was going to do with the ball. So that's the scary part. I've been hearing this for years.
That is scary.
Yeah.
That is scary.
Yeah. Here's Tim. Go ahead, Mike. You want to read this one?
Will the Giants beat the Commanders 31-20 and even their record at 1-1? I think the Giants can win this game, but it's a toss-up. It's not a given. I don't think they're going to score 31 points, though.
No, I don't.
I think if the Commanders score 20 points, it is going to be decided by a field goal because I don't think the Giants will score much more than that.
It seems like these Washington Giant games are always like 21-18, 20.
Yeah, they're always.
It's like 2016 is a weird, something like that. It's just strange. He's gonna be around 20. I feel like it's gonna be
15, 18. No.
I feel like the score is gonna be 17-23 in that range there, whoever wins. But here's one. Do we really think Bill? And this is from Bill. Do we really think Bill would come back for this team and owner? I doubt it. Who knows?
I don't know, Bill. That's a good question. I don't know. We all know Belichick loves the New York Giants organization.
That's right.
He loves them.
It's early, but we're going to hear that.
I don't know if Bill Belichick had job opportunities this offseason. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But he sat out, and maybe he's hoping. I don't know. But if that's true, if that ever happened and Dable was let go, would that mean that Shane is gone too? Because would Belichick come and not be like the GM / head coach?
Yeah, I don't know if, and I know it's early, but I don't know if I'd want Bill to be the GM. As much as he's a great coach, some of his draft picks have been a little underwhelming. And at his age,
I agree.
I wouldn't go for that. I want a personnel guy in there. But
I agree.
Yeah, we're going to have to – we may be talking about that sooner than later, Bill, depending on how these next few games go. We're going to hear chirping going on. And, Boy, interesting, man. Very interesting. Yeah, Bill. Another, Bill's throwing stuff out here, like when Dable wouldn't let
I'm
Tommy
not
throw
saying,
at all in the first game. Yeah, that's true. The
yeah,
Jet game.
and let's be clear, we're not saying we want Bill Belichick.
Right.
We're just talking about the rumors out there.
Yeah, correct.
Because Real
Correct.
Cold is saying, why would you want Belichick? We didn't
Not
say
that we would want him, but the affinity that Mara has with Bill and Bill for Mara. The interesting point is, Josh McDaniels would come along. You'd probably get Vrabel, a coach in waiting, or some sort of. I mean, that's what I'm just thinking off the top of my head. We'd be hearing about. But you're right, Bill. Yeah, Tommy in the Jet game. But yeah, you're right. And I give the Giants defense had 37 seconds to seal that game, and they let them off.
Oh, that was so hard to watch.
But here we go, real cold. He's giving us a score. Exactly, Cole. That's what I'm thinking. Whoever wins, it's right around that scoring number, 20 to 17.
I agree with him on that one.
I
I think it's going to be a field goal and a game like that kind of under 40. How's that sound? Around that area.
Yeah.
40 points around there under.
I like the positive, Cole. This is probably your last prediction of a Giants win if they lose. I anticipate all of us will never be predicting wins after. If they lose this game.
We all had Chris and I took about a half hour to get egg out of our face at the predictions we had.
Oh God, I feel like such a fool after last week. So does half the Giant fans, but man, I didn't see that coming. I did not see that coming. A lot of people didn't, but geez, I was so confident that the Giants would establish put their stamp on that game. Who would have known it was the other team that put their stamp on it?
Just think. I watched Carl Banks talk about the game, and he painted a scenario. He said, it was the 100th anniversary honoring the top 100 players. A lot of guys were there because a lot of them are still alive. Yep. A lot of guys are there, and he said the fans. He said the stadium was so loud. You were there.
Oh, I was there.
The stadium was so loud.
Rocking,
he says he was so pumped. Him and LT, they were so pumped.
Yeah, LT rang the bell, the fake bell.
And they said they really said that the Vikings don't have a shot. They didn't have a shot. That's how they felt. And then suddenly, suddenly LT's talking to Bank saying, "I think we can beat these guys."
Put 22 on the field. Just to finish up with Bill Belichick, Cole makes a point. No team hired Bill this offseason. That says a lot. You know what I think happened too, Cole? I believe he met with Arthur Blank with the Falcons, and Bill, being a control freak that he is, wanted full control over personnel.
Yeah.
And to Arthur Blank's credit, wouldn't give it to I would say a 78-year-old man, but a guy in the later end of his, coaching to personnel. So I think that kind of kiboshed that, because if you remember, they met a few times and he wouldn't relinquish the full control to Belichick. And I don't blame him. I don't think I would either. Let Bill – listen, Bill's a schematic guy. He schemes well. He's a mad scientist. I don't know if at his age and this point in his career, I want him, involved in the personnel. He could, definitely put his 2 cents in and his opinions, but I don't want him pulling the trigger, so to speak. My opinion. But anyway, let's see.
No other predictions. I mean, we only saw Cole. I only saw one guy.
Yeah, I'm here called Truth. Did you catch this commentary of what LT said at halftime? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yep. Could put us 22 out there. Yeah.
Hey, listen.
Sean Howard and Chris Snee at 190 pounds would probably do better. They all look, they all look so lean, our offensive linemen that were there. Sean O'Hara and I think Seibert was the only one that looked kind of big. Sean O'Hara and Chris Snee look like they dropped about 70, 80 pounds. Yeah.
But they're built like tight ends now.
Yeah, they really are, man. Oh, man. So any other predictions before we head out? Any other thoughts? But while we're waiting, just, keep in mind NY Giants Rush will be back on Monday with Craig and whoever else will be on to recap, hopefully, the Giants' first win against the Commanders. So Monday, 8 o'clock. Just keep in mind, previews are at 7 o'clock on Wednesdays and 8 o'clock Eastern time on Mondays. All right. Anything else? If not, we're gonna head out. We're at 8:04. Calling once, calling twice, 3 times. Anybody else get anything off your chest? All right, we'll give it a second. Any last thoughts from you, Truth, before we close the door on tonight's show?
No, like I said earlier, this is a must-win game. They got to show passion. They got to show urgency. They got to come out there and compete on the first snap, and they have to, and they do have something to show the fans, and not only to themselves. They got to prove to those fans that they care. It didn't look like they cared that first game, right? And I'm sure they did care, but they didn't look like they did. You know?
Yeah. It almost, like we said, took the air out of the sails later on. And last thing for me, Truth, the turnover battle. They got to win that turnover battle. That is going to be key for the field position. And God only knows, we need all the Giants need all the help they can get in the red zone and need turnovers to flip the field. So
did they win a turnover battle against Vikings? Was it 2-1 or was it 2-2? What was it?
I think it. Let's see. He threw 2 interceptions. I don't believe there was a there's a fumble, but Slayton got back on it. Was a penalty. I think it was 2-1. 2-2. What was the other?
Well, we had an interception and we had a fumble.
Oh, that's right. Masau and the Okereke fumble recovery, and then the 2. Yeah, 2. Yeah, so it was even. That was about the only thing even about the game. And just remember last year, Giants were like plus 14, tied for first in the NFL, and they had a 6-11 record. So one of the only teams to ever go plus 14, number 1 or 2 in the league, and have a losing record.
They only have 6 wins.
Oh God, that just shows you how bad an offense is.
That's right.
Play with some damn heart and toughness. Yeah, that's exactly right, Cole. Man, let's see.
That's right, Cole.
Hey, JT, thanks for that, man. We appreciate it. Have a nice end of your drive there on your cycle. Get that exercise in. We'll catch you next time. Awesome. All right, guys. So, let's see what else. Touching on my points. Hey, we try to. You know what, JT? When you only have 5 people in the room with the comments, it's easy to get through everybody. We can punch you up pretty quick. But let's see what he said. For touching all my points on Coach Killer Jones Monday night. Oh, the guys did. Yes, I was lurking and laughing along the way. Well, you know what? It's gotten so bad on this offense that you got to laugh, right? Right, Michael? At some point, you got to laugh about it. It's just, you can't kill yourself.
I missed it because of I watched the debate yesterday, and I was so busy. Was it fun? Was it? We had a lot of, I know you were on a lot of laughs.
Yeah, I had to fill in, and we kept it as entertaining as possible. There was some serious undertones because you know what, we were talking about Jones, and we've had it, and how do we go on?
Who was ranting the most? Who was
probably Craig?
The most?
Oh, obviously Craig. Yeah, Craig. And we had Brian Riscana on, who did a great job. He put some from FAN, so he was awesome, man, and he bleeds blue, and he was at the game with Craig. So it was a little bit of therapy, and it was fun. It was fun, and yeah, I mean, it was fun, as much fun as we could make it, after the loss. We were in shock too, but anyway. All right. Anything else, Mike? Last call for you. Anything you want to add?
I said all I got to say. Yep. I'm just going to watch the game and hope that they can win.
Yeah, we need it. Bottom line is, everybody, Giants need this win. If not, oh boy, it's going to be a rough next few weeks. So let's stay glued to the TV. Hope the best for Jones, whether you like him or not. Support him, and let's see if we can get this win on Sunday. And we'll catch you Monday night. NY Giants Rush. We're here every Wednesday. Me and The Truth, and also Spartan will be jumping back and forth between both shows, filling in when he can. So we thank you again for coming tonight and checking us out. And can't thank you enough for supporting the show. All right, have a great week, everybody. Rest of the week, and go Giants. Go Blue.
Take care. My hand disappears.
Kind of freaky, Mike.